One of the things I like to do in this class is I do this quick little masking exercise, and I always do it with this example of an apple. But the funny thing about doing this exercise when I'm creating a mask is there's things in Photoshop that makes the masking process so easy that this whole exercise that I do is almost, I can't say not necessary, but is showing you the old-fashioned way of doing things. So what I usually do is I do a search for an apple, and I would do this in class with you. So if this is something you want to try on your own, that's fine. So I do a search for an apple, and I find an image of an apple, and usually it's one that has like a shadow underneath, something like this. And then I right click on it and I copy it and then I paste it. So here's my apple. And then I do a search for some sort of background. So I usually do like a beach. So I find like a beach scene. So here's a beach. And again, it doesn't really matter. Here's one. I have to get it so it's like this on the side. So I'm going to copy this beach scene. This is fine. Sometimes you get this dialog box about the profile mismatch, and that's just a special color working space. And so you can usually ignore that. It's usually not an issue. So now I have this beach scene here, and then I will grab the beach scene and put it underneath the apple. So the idea is you just want to get rid of the white background, right? So with the magic wand tool, I hit W for the magic wand tool. I select that white background on the apple layer. So I make sure that the apple layer is selected. Now I'm selecting all sorts of extra stuff here that I don't want to include. For example, it's bleeding into the apple itself and it's missing some areas like over here as well. It's not a great selection. So my tolerance be changed. So this is an example of where you change the tolerance. So up in the control bar is this tolerance setting. If it's too high, it's going to tolerate a wider range of pixels. So the default is 32. So I'm going to get rid of the current selection by hitting Command D, or you can hit Control D, and then I'll reselect that. And that's a lot better. So it's a lot better now. So I have a better selection. Now I want to get that white area inside. So if you hit Shift, you can add to the selection, and now I got that white area. So now I basically was able to mask out or select all the white. And so the final step, not necessarily the final, but one of the close to the end here steps is you click on this little icon. It's the circle inside the rectangle in the layers panel. I like to call it the Japanese flag. So if you click on it like this, what happens is it is revealing what's inside the selection. So I want the opposite, actually. So the way it works too is, like I said earlier, black hides and white reveals. So anything that's black in your mask is going to be hidden. So there's two ways to go about it. If you want to make sure you're masking out the white background and you want to get everything within your marching ant, so all the white, you hit Option or Alt on a PC, and then you click the little Japanese flag, and it masks out the white background like it should. Now, let's say you didn't do that and you have black and white here, then what you can do is just hit Command I, and it inverts the black and white. So it's making the black white and the white black, and you're inverting the colors of that mask, and then it works like that. And this is another reason why black and white is always default swatches. So sometimes too, you want to fix things by painting in the mask itself. So you can use a brush to paint black in the mask. So if I hit D for my brush tool, it's good to know that your foreground color is black, and that's why that X key can switch back and forth. So if I need to, let's say, smooth out the mask, I can use a brush, hit B, and then I want a smooth brush. So you get a smooth brush by hitting Shift and the left bracket key. So it's actually making it smoother. And then you can touch things up. So I can click down here over the shadow area and touch that up a little bit. So I can fix that. Oh, we have a guest visitor here. That's my son Stan. So you can go through and retouch things by brushing it in. So that's the masking process basically. Now this is the old-fashioned way of doing things. Like you would have to use your magic wand tool. You'd have to do a lot of retouching with the brush. You see a lot of artifacts. So when you see white pixels and it's not a good mask, those are the artifacts like on the leaf here. So that's not considered a good mask. But there's a bunch of things that have been added to Photoshop over the years that improve upon this process. So one of the things that improves upon it is if you double click on the mask, it brings up this properties side panel. And what you can do with this is you can fix your mask. So there's some features in here. Now, one of the things I usually do before I get into this is I'm going to hit cancel. Is if you look at my mask, I have like here, I have white on the edges. So I would want to fill that in with black first. So I only want to have the white revealing. So I want fully black surrounded by white. So the mask is covering everything. So I'll just use the magic wand tool in the mask itself. It's select the white surrounding it. And then you probably have to go to select and expand that selection just a couple pixels. So I think 2 pixels is fine. And then fill it with black. So I do option delete or alt delete on the PC and it fills it with the foreground color. And I got probably some white down here that I don't want either. So I'll just paint that in with black with the brush like that. And now I'll click on the apple again and go back to that and then go into the mask again and double click. And now what you can do with the properties panel, it's already faded out the apple look. So you can adjust your mask down here. So there's like this edge detection and there's other refinements. So there's this feathering and just a couple adjustments will clean it up really nicely and make it look a lot better. So there's a couple things I can do here. So I'm just playing with these settings. So sometimes you increase this radius and it's gonna, sometimes too, it helps to bring the settings down all the way. And there's 2 settings here too. There's this color aware and there's this object aware. The object aware used to be the default. Color aware is something that's new. So you just adjust things a little bit here. So that's looking pretty good. So the radius is the width of the surroundings around the apple. Smoothness is smoothing out that mask. Feathering is adding a slight blur to the edge. So whenever you hear the term feathering, it's creating this like radiated blur around something. So if you have a hard edge, it's going to soften it. Contrast is adding to that as well. And then the shift edge is going to have your selection either eat into it or push out of it. And you can go up into this little view area up here. You can see the effect. So that's the new mask. So you have these nice kind of faded edges that's blurring into it. And if I go back, I can say it's show original and you can see the difference. There's the artifacts and then I can unclick show original and then you see it faded in. And then showing the edge part, this is what is actually happening. It's creating this special type of edge mask around the apple to get that quality. So sometimes you might want to play with this even further. But now that looks a little bit more realistic when you have that little blurry edge to it. So this is new. You double click on the mask, it brings up properties, you can adjust it, and then you hit OK. And then you have a nice new mask. And what it does too, it duplicates the layer. So you can go back to the original for whatever reason. That's the original, adjusted. You can see the difference there. So there's really no artifacts with this adjusted one.